tuned in to Rebooting Liberty.
Have you ever wanted to have your own radio show? Rebooting Liberty Radio Network currently has openings for live programs. For a very small fee, we will create a show intro, bumper music, and provide technical production for your hour-long show. Email producer@rebootingliberty.com for details. You can find us at live.rebootingliberty.com.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life. We never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights, we're Americans. We fish the waters and we hunt the lands. We forge the steel with our own two hands. With what we've got, we do the best we can. We're Americans.
It's time now for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show on K98 Talk. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening, and happy Veterans Day to all you veterans out there. Little different tone tonight. I want to be a little more serious. I know that's probably scaring some people, but that's okay. It's a good thing. No breaking glass tonight. And I just want to want to take this show and we're going to use at least most of it, if not all of it, to discuss Veterans Day and veterans causes, and we're going to put the spotlight on veterans, and their plight is something that's very near and dear to me, as I am a veteran. My father was a veteran. My brother is a veteran. My other brother is a veteran. And several of my high school classmates that I were very close with are veterans. So, we live in a great country that our veterans and our active duty soldiers have provided and do provide for a lot of the safety and freedoms that we have. But where did the tradition of a Veterans Day come from? Well, we're going to talk about that for a few minutes here. In 1921, an unknown World War I American soldier was buried in Arlington National Cemetery. This site on a hillside overlooking the Potomac River and the city of Washington, D.C. became the focal point of reverence for America's veterans. Similar ceremonies occurred earlier in England and in France, where an unknown soldier was buried in each nation's highest place of honor. In England, this would be Westminster Abbey, and in France at the Arc de Triomphe. These memorial gestures all took place on November 11th, giving universal recognition to the celebrated ending of World War I fighting at 11 a.m., November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The day became known as Armistice Day back then. Armistice Day officially received its name in America in 1926 through a congressional resolution. It became a national holiday 12 years later by similar congressional action. If the idealistic hope had been realized that World War I was the war to end all wars, November 11th might still be called Armistice Day. But only a few years after the holiday was proclaimed, war broke out in Europe. 16.5 million Americans took part in this war. 407,000 of them died in service, more than 292,000 of them in direct battle combat. The first celebration using the term Veterans Day occurred in Birmingham, Alabama in 1947. Raymond Weeks, a World War II veteran, organized National Veterans Day, which included a parade and other festivities to honor all veterans. The event was held on November 11th, then designated Armistice Day. Later, United States Representative Edward Reese of Kansas proposed a bill that would change Armistice Day to Veterans Day. In 1954, Congress passed the bill that President Eisenhower signed proclaiming November 11th as Veterans Day. Raymond Weeks received the Presidential Citizens Medal from President Reagan in November of 1982. Weeks's local parade and ceremonies are now an annual event celebrated nationwide. On Memorial Day, 1958, 2 more unidentified American war dead were brought from overseas and interred in the plaza beside the unknown soldier of World War I. One was killed in World War II and the other in the Korean War. In 1984, an unknown serviceman from the Vietnam War was placed alongside the others. The remains from Vietnam were exhumed May 14, 1998, and identified as Air Force First Lieutenant Michael Blassie, and removed for burial. To honor these men, symbolic of all Americans who gave their lives in all wars, an Army Honor Guard, the 3rd U.S. Infantry, the Old Guard, keeps day and night vigil at the site. A law passed in 1968 changed the national commemoration of Veterans Day to the 4th Monday in October. It soon became apparent, however, that November 11 was the date of historic significance to many Americans. Therefore, in 1978, Congress returned the observance to its traditional date. The focal point for official national ceremonies for Veterans Day continues to be the Memorial Amphitheater built around the Tomb of the Unknowns. At 11 a.m. on November 11th, a combined color guard representing all military services executes present arms at the tomb. The nation pays tribute to its war dead symbolized by the laying of a wreath by the president. The bugler plays taps, and the rest of the ceremony takes place in the amphitheater. Veterans Day ceremonies at Arlington and elsewhere are coordinated by the President's Veterans Day National Committee. Chaired by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, the committee represents national veterans organizations. Governors of many states and U.S. territories appoint Veterans Day chairpersons who, in cooperation with the National Committee and the Department of Defense, arrange and promote local ceremonies. So now you understand where it came from, how it came to be what it is today, and why we celebrate. Now that we all know this, allow me to take a minute to recognize a few veterans who are close to me. Want to recognize Ronald and Donald Mix of the United States Army, John Lampkin of the United States Marine Corps, my friend Vincent Ulmer, my friend and teammate Vincent Ulmer, United States Navy, who was killed on the USS Stark when it was bombed, my next door neighbor, a 100% disabled Iraqi Afghanistan veteran, both of my brothers, one Air Force, one Army, and my father, who was in the Marine Corps during Vietnam. They're all very different, but they all answered the call to step up and take that special oath to defend our great nation. And I, for one, am better off for knowing each and every one of them. Veterans Day provides an opportunity to honor and celebrate these men and women who have served and are serving the United States, the sacrifices they have made, and the contributions they make to our society. Veterans serve as leaders throughout American government and the country's top companies. Veterans are serving as firefighters, police officers, and teachers. They have created and are directing important charitable and advocacy organizations. And they are grandparents, parents, siblings, uncles, aunts, who are instilling a sense of pride and patriotism in America's youngest generation. They have made these accomplishments in the face of significant adversity. Excuse me. Over 3/4 of the 21 million veterans living today served during periods of war, meaning that too many know firsthand the ugliness of war and invisible wounds themselves and have seen friends injured and killed. It causes grave concern to know that although rare, the suicide rate among veterans is 3 times what it is for non-veterans. In 2010, it was 35.9 per 100,000 veterans versus 12.4 per 100,000 non-veterans. This data released last year is one of many new findings that suggest that the United States must do better if it truly means to honor our nation's veterans. Fortunately, the Departments of Defense, Veterans Affairs, and Health and Human Services have all recently invested more in research on suicide prevention among veterans. In the past year, this investment has produced findings with direct implications for public policy. Here are the three areas that require immediate attention, both for further research and for policy intervention, as a way to ensure that fewer veterans in the years to come lose their battle and die at their own hands. This DoD published study this year, finding that for those that served between 2001 and 2007, risk of suicide increases when a service member leaves the military. That risk is greatest for those who left the military under something other than an honorable discharge, commonly referred to as bad paper. Paradoxically, this is the same group that has the fewest services available to them. Not only are these veterans denied services from the Department of Veterans Affairs, but RAND research has also shown that many nonprofits serving veterans and their families will apply the same eligibility criteria in determining who they serve. In other words, veterans ineligible for services from the VA are often deemed ineligible for services for veterans in the community. Research needs to better monitor and understand the needs of veterans who leave the service with bad paper. And veteran serving organizations and the federal government should consider expanding services specifically for this high-risk group. Now, I bring this up because while we do need to do more research, we also need to understand that there is a reason that these people were discharged with bad paper. And if they are criminal in nature, indeed, they should not receive these services, I believe. My belief only. You may think differently, and that's okay. We're conservatives. We allow each other to think independently and express our opinions without any kind of reprisal. I'm happy to debate any of these topics with anybody, so feel free. While services need to target veterans discharged with bad paper and female veterans, the United States must remain vigilantly focused on the majority of veterans living today. Men over age 45, who comprise nearly 75% of all veterans, and include veterans of World War II, of which there are about 1 million living veterans. The Korean conflict, of which there are about 2 million living veterans. Vietnam has about 7 million living veterans, and the Gulf War era has another 7 million living veterans. A study released just this month suggests that while mortality rates have generally declined across the United States, they have not done so for middle-aged white men whose mortality rate has increased, partially attributed to the increasing rates of suicide in this group. Ann Case and Angus Deaton, the authors of the study, suggest that growing distress in this population is the main cause. Veterans make up nearly 1/3 of males over age 35 in the United States today, with a greater proportion of veterans at the later ages of life. Honoring veterans means honoring this group of men in their middle years and even their latter years, a group notoriously hard to reach from a public health perspective. One way to start is with research that acknowledges the voices of these men, that listens to their concerns and the causes of their distress to develop policies and other public health approaches that truly honor their service. And not only them, we also need to keep in mind on Veterans Day and Memorial Day the importance of the sacrifices of the veterans' families and their needs as well. It's easy to say, oh, well, they're just at home in the United States while their significant other is off fighting and they have it made. No, they don't have it made. Not knowing where your husband or your wife is for weeks on end, is very stressful. Not knowing causes so much stress. Just not knowing when you get that 2 a.m. call as a military member, whether this is an exercise or whether you're actually going to be deployed somewhere in the middle of the night. You don't know. And that's why you have to go through all these steps of having things like a will in place and a power of attorney in place and custody papers in place, and everything you can possibly think of has to be in place, because when that phone rings at 2 a.m. and you have to jump up and grab your bag, which stays packed, well, at least mine did anyway, you don't know when you make it onto the base whether you're getting on a plane and heading somewhere, or whether you're going to sit in a hangar for a couple hours and try to catch a little more sleep and then get told it's an exercise and go home. Or in a lot of cases, you just go straight to work that morning. And that is when you get to call home and say, hey, I'm not going anywhere. It's okay. It's stressful on the family too. We need to keep that in mind. One of the other areas that we really need to work on with our veterans is reintegrating them back into society when they return. And the biggest portion of that I can think of, other than the mental health issues which tie into just about everything, are the employment opportunities for veterans. Now, despite recent national efforts to hire veterans and educate employers, a new report released just Tuesday says that vets have trouble finding and keeping jobs, and that civilian employers struggle to understand them. Some of the training and indoctrination that serves troops well in war works against them in their job search, according to the report. And this was a report that was done by the University of Southern California and Volunteers of America. It calls for what they say, what they call civilian basic training. As troops transition out of the armed services, study co-author Anthony Hassan, an Army and Air Force veteran, said the country needs to talk honestly about the changes veterans face and what they need to succeed. With the Department of Defense focused on training troops for war, he said it falls on civilians to help troops after they leave the military. Hassan said, "I would never disparage our veterans, but I don't want the civilian community to think that we're all doing fine." He said, "I don't say all veterans are broken, but I don't say that all veterans are employment ready either." The veteran employment rate is about even with the unemployment rate is about even with the national rate, though the jobless rate for post 9/11 veterans is about 2 percentage points higher. Now, according to this report, the main barriers to employment for veterans include a lack of preparation for finding a civilian job, unrealistic expectations for the kind of work and salary for which they qualify. After 14 years of war, many leaving the battlefield have led troops in battle, often on multiple deployments, but that experience doesn't always translate to a similar civilian position. Many expect to start out at a mid-level and supervisory positions and become angry and discouraged when they don't, and then are not willing to accept lower positions. Unaddressed mental health issues, including post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a leading predictor of veteran unemployment. This report found that many employers are wary of hiring veterans with mental health disorders. I'd be a little weary of hiring anybody with a mental health disorder, but if I were going to make that leap, it would certainly be with a veteran, somebody that has shown, at least to a degree, a level of mental toughness. And you know what? It doesn't hurt to work with them to help them through it. But difficulty relating to civilians and adapting to civilian work culture also work against veterans. These are folks who are highly disciplined, highly trained. And when veterans are returning to our country, we need to think about them belonging in our communities and in our nation. The report also called for more employment help for vets who have other than honorable discharges and criminal records. And see, this is where I start having problems. A criminal record should weigh against you. The category of other than honorable discharges is very nebulous. Okay? I know this because I actually started the proceedings for somebody that was under my direct supervision in the military, that was forced out of the military and was given an other than honorable discharge. This young man was not a criminal. He was simply weak. He had a problem with sleeping on the job because of poor choices that he had made. He put himself in this position. I counseled this young man twice informally. Then I counseled him twice formally. And I rearranged his work schedule to try to work with him to help him out. In doing so, he repaid my kindness by going to sleep at a job, at a desk that hundreds, if not thousands, of people pass by on a daily basis. And when I received a knock on my door from a lieutenant colonel who had this young airman with him, and the lieutenant colonel looked at me and said, "Sergeant, does this piece of garbage belong to you?" Because he was asleep at his post. I had no choice at that point but to refer him higher on to my first sergeant, who began the proceedings of out-processing this young man from military service. Now, do I think that this young man should be automatically disqualified from jobs and veteran service organizations assistance because he made some piss poor decisions? No. No, I don't. But this is what I'm getting at in this gray area of the discharge category of other than honorable, because a lot of times criminals are given this discharge as opposed to a dishonorable discharge. And when I say criminals are given this kind of discharge, I know for a fact that there was a young man in the military who went on a temporary duty assignment to another base about 200 miles down the road from where we were stationed. And he and the young man that he was there with on this temporary duty assignment went out one night, got drunk, and wrecked the government car they were driving. Instead of being men of character and owning up to what they did, they took the car, drove it back to the hotel they were staying at, waited until the middle of the night, then made it look like the car was broken into and vandalized. Well, the truth came out during the investigation. And one of the young men broke down and confessed to what had happened after perpetuating the lie. Now, these two young men were both incarcerated, and they had the cost of the car taken from their paychecks while they were incarcerated in the military jail. At such time that they had served long enough for the cost of the car to be extracted from their paychecks, they were both released from military jail, and they were given their other than honorable discharge. Should these type people be kept from these services from veteran service organizations, including the VA? yeah, these are the kind that should. Now, they should be referred for assistance. It just shouldn't come at taxpayer expense. Obviously, they had, I don't know if they still have. I'm not in touch with these two gentlemen anymore, but they obviously had a problem with controlling their urges and their alcohol. And they should have received assistance for that. Again, not at taxpayer expense, but assistance nonetheless. Jim Zenner, an Army veteran and director of Volunteers of America Hollywood Veterans Center, said the military should expand its transition assistance program, what we call TAP, aimed at giving troops a crash course in the civilian world. And I would agree with that finding. I don't know what the TAP program is like now. I exited the service 20 years ago. So things are very different now, I'm sure. But yeah, I would have liked to seen more about what the civilian world was like after serving in the military for as long as I did. I was not just a 4-year guy. I didn't make it to retirement, but I did do 10 years. But he said that many troops skip through the program without learning anything, and they just, you just want to get your check boxes done on your checklist to out-process. And yeah, I tend to agree with that. That was a lot of what I saw back in my time, is that these were just check boxes that had to be filled to prove to the commander that you did this. So yeah, I do agree that that program needs to be expanded tremendously, and it needs to be done in cooperation with civilian agencies, so that, these military members get a good idea of what will be expected of them in the civilian world and in the civilian job place. Now we're at a good stopping point here, so it's also the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a little commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss more veterans issues and veterans causes. And thank you for being with me here on Veterans Day.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me. Ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of liberty-conservative conservatism.
Where no one is safe and no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com. The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rail. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
Wake up, America.
The biggest threat in those days were from factions seizing control of the governing apparatus and making decisions that were in their interests. Today, we call factions political parties. George Washington himself warned the nation about the dangers of factions in his farewell address.
Office hours with Dr. A, 3 p.m. on Sundays, K98 Talk. We've got something to say to you, America.
Oh, but ain't that America? For you and me. Ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
All right, welcome back. We are cruising through Veterans Day on this very special program here that's dedicated to our veterans. If you have somebody that you would like to honor on tonight's show, please give me a call. Number's 408-681-8255. I would love to honor your veteran on the air. That is 408-681-8255. Or if you want to discuss the topics that we're going over here tonight, that's fantastic too. Whatever's on your mind, call in. Let me know you're listening. For years, our veterans worked hard to promote our national security abroad. They're recruited into the military. They're promised leadership skills, technical skills, and an opportunity to see the world. But when they return home, they're faced with serious financial disempowerment and a soaring veteran unemployment rate. In 2012, that unemployment rate was 20.4%, a full 5 percentage points higher than the rate for non-veterans. A January 2013 survey of 4,000 veterans found that 16% were unemployed. A full 33.8% reported being unemployed for over a year, and more than 17% say they were unemployed for 2 years. Now, many groups of veterans still face higher unemployment than their civilian counterparts. Government and nonprofit programs are trying to help by setting up job fairs and meetings with employers to encourage them to hire veterans. But this is what we call a push mentality, and it's not enough. Again, we're talking about government efforts, and we all know that the best way government can help usually is to just get the hell out of the way. But in this case, they've actually done a little bit of good, so I'm going to give them a little bit of credit, not tons. But while the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Hiring Our Heroes program has made great strides, like holding job fairs in all 50 states, each fair draws in hundreds of veterans, all clamming for scant open positions. Many vets will still get overlooked and leave empty-handed. There are no hard stats on the effectiveness of job fairs for the unemployed, so it's hard to tell if the programs are really going to put a crack in the pool of unemployed veterans. We can't just dump employers and vets into one big room together and hope for the best. A more individualized approach is really what is needed. Vets don't just need job fairs, they need a community. Programs that provide mentorship, lessons in online job searching, and one-on-one training that really help address individual needs. In a world where nearly 50% of workers report being referred to a job by a friend or family member, one of the keys to fighting veteran unemployment is building a peer network with the camaraderie and internal support of those who understand the veteran's unique situation. Many members of the military have turned to social media to keep in touch with friends and family back home. but are they being trained to use it for their job search? Another study found that a disappointing 66% of new veterans received employment resources during their transition back to civilian life. If they can't rely on companies and government agencies to provide this, vets need to rely on each other. Can't stress that enough. Rely on each other, not the government. That's why companies like the social job search platform called Jackalope Jobs has teamed up with Gallant Few, another program that's helping service members to dismantle geographic barriers and connect with other veterans all over the country. Their joint venture program, 1K Vets, provides a personal mentor for each unemployed individual, as well as social media training to connect veterans to jobs. This joint approach to helping veterans find jobs means that they're effectively giving each veteran the individualized social and emotional support they need to get back into the swing of civilian life. And hopefully this will open the door to employment opportunities at companies that already understand the needs of veterans and their families. See, it's how we look at these problems that are going to help. You know, we've been doing the same thing for 20 years, and it's not really seeming to help a whole lot. We have to look at systematic problems if we want veterans to get back on their feet. And providing a way for veterans to connect with each other is going to help build a network that will help them stay grounded with hopefully some meaningful employment for years to come. Now, I can't tell you how important that is for our veterans and their families. I've been extraordinarily lucky. I left the service with two very marketable skills to fall back on. It's not important what those skills are. Suffice it to say that I could have chosen either one, but the one I did choose has provided well for me and my family in the 20 years since I left the military. I voluntarily took time off through, let's see, I guess the month of January and half of February, the year that I got out of the service, on December 26, 1995. I took about 6 weeks, relaxed, put some resumes out during that time, and was actually hired as I was ready to go back to work. And I've been working steady ever since. Like I said, very lucky to have marketable skills in two different, completely different areas. One thing that I've been very lucky with is that my health has not failed me to the point of having to require services through the Veterans Administration. I do have health issues, but they are not because of what happened to me in the military. They are congenital, and I do not rely on the VA for my care for that. That's my problem to deal with. I shouldn't be trying to pawn it off on somebody else, namely taxpayers that fund the VA. But recently, Hillary Clinton had some comments concerning the scandal at the VA that this country was in an uproar over just over a year ago. Hillary Clinton said that our VA problem is not widespread, and it is not as bad as it has been made out to be. And she said this on the Rachel Maddow show on MSNBC when asked about the scandal and how she would fix the VA. That was her comment. But yet, President Obama's own administration report on the VA scandal contradicts Clinton's remarks. The VA Inspector General concluded that inappropriate scheduling practices at VA medical centers were systemic in 2014. After a CNN investigation revealed that veterans were dying while waiting for care on secret lists at the Phoenix VA. The scandal led to the resignation of then VA Secretary Eric Shinseki. Now, Paul Rieckhoff, founder and CEO of the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, or IAVA, called her comments a head-scratcher. And he fired off on Twitter that is not a winning argument, Mrs. Clinton, nor is it factually correct. So we need to look at this comment, and we need to look at Hillary Clinton, and God help us. I mean, it hurts to look at her. But we need to examine her character, or her lack thereof. And we need to ask ourselves, is this really the person we want running our country? And the answer, I know everybody out there is already saying, hell no, hell no. And you're absolutely right. That is the resounding answer to that question. Hell no, we don't want Hillary running our country. We don't want Bernie running our country. You know, they use that catchphrase, feel the burn. If Sanders, God help us, ever became president, our whole country would burn, literally. Hillary Clinton is a person that is so far out of touch with anything resembling reality that she might as well be stricken with a kind of permanent concussive syndrome from her fall during her stint as Secretary of State. She's utterly incapable of living in a reality outside of her own little bubble of pre-scripted moderate socialist existence. And to prove that, she later tried to backtrack on her comments when she realized that they were already starting to show detrimental damage to her polling numbers. So once again, Hillary exposes herself as the soulless harpy that she really is. Mrs. Clinton, your brand of leadership is not what this country needs or wants. It is certainly not what our veterans need or want. And what you really need to do is tap Jeb Bush on the shoulder and tell him to get into the limo with you, and the both of you should ride off into with your respective spouses and never be seen or heard from publicly ever again. I just can't even fathom why either one of you would think that anybody wants you running our country. Friends, it's quarter to the top of the hour. We are heading towards a fantastic, according to me, with Jason DeWilkins after my show tonight. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. But right now, we need to take a short break again and pay the bills. And when we come back, we're actually going to change gears. We're going to jump off the veteran spotlight, and we're going to do a little bit of the debate recap from last night. And we'll kick those numbers around because there's already some post-debate polls published, and we'll see who did what and how and why. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
You and me, ain't that America? Something to see, baby.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me. Ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America?
All right, welcome back. We have cleared through the veterans topics I wanted to cover tonight. So we are going to jump over to post-debate numbers and topics there. I want to thank you for tuning in tonight for this Veterans Day program. And just want you to know that since we are going to change gears and get a little, even though we're going to be discussing post-debate numbers and things of that nature, we're going to have a little fun with it. So being that we are changing gears, I'm going to go ahead and get my glass wheeled out here. And I'm going to break some glass for us. There we go. So the first article I came across said that Donald Trump and Marco Rubio won Tuesday night's primetime Republican debate. Agree or disagree? That's fine. According to an overnight poll of internet users who watched the contest, but Mr. Trump came out as the favorite among Republicans and left the best impression about his ability to serve as president, according to this poll. Some 24% of debate viewers named Mr. Trump, and 23% picked Rubio as the winner of the 8-candidate event, which was sponsored by the Wall Street Journal and Fox Business News and should have been retitled The John Kasich Show with Political Guests, because these cowards from Fox Business and Wall Street Journal didn't have the stones to unplug the whiny-ass John Kasich's microphone when he would not shut his pie hole last night. And here's some of Kasich's comments from last night. I'm going to play this audio clip for you. This is great. You're going to like this. This was John Kasich all night during the debate. That's right. John Kasich pissed and moaned his way through the entire debate, stealing mic time from everybody. He got way more attention than he deserves. But back to the numbers. So Ted Cruz and Ben Carson followed Trump and Rubio, both with 13% declaring them to have won. Trump's lead in the internet survey was larger among debate watchers who said they'd vote in a Republican primary. It's getting scary, folks. I'm telling you. Among those GOP voters, Trump was declared the winner by 28%, with 23% naming Rubio, Cruz followed with 16% and Carson at 14%. And I do have to say, I don't think Ben Carson did himself any favors last night. He certainly did not shine by any stretch of the imagination. And this is what I've said ever since I saw Ben Carson speak at the Southern Republican Leadership Conference in Oklahoma City. He is a spectacularly nice guy, but that only goes so far, especially in the world of politics. Other candidates were in the single digits among the GOP voters. Rand Paul and Carly Fiorina were named the winner by only 7% of the debate viewers, while Jeb Bush had 3% and Kasich 2%. Now, keep these numbers in mind because this is just one poll and some of the others differ. The poll was conducted by the Journal, for the Journal by Google Consumer Surveys. The question asking which candidate won the debate was answered by 1,023 people who said they had watched the debate, including 708 who said they'd vote in a Republican primary. The survey displays questions to people who visit a set of online news, reference, and entertainment websites and ask them to answer the questions in exchange for access to those sites. The margin of error varies by question, but is less than plus or minus 4 percentage points for GOP voters and 3 percentage points for the full sample. Democratic primary voters viewed the debate far differently than did Republicans. Among Democrats, Rubio was judged to be the winner by most survey respondents, followed by Kasich, Paul, and Trump. That just goes to prove that the Democrats don't have a damn clue, because the only reason any Democrat would have picked John Kasich as winning that debate is they loved his socialistic answers to topical questions. Now, Republican primary voters in the survey gave Trump top marks for a number of qualities. He came in first when respondents were asked which candidate was best able to handle the job of president. Also, which candidate best understands the problems facing people like you, and who would best be able to improve the economy and keep the U.S. safe from terrorism. Rubio came in second to Trump on those questions among GOP voters. In conducting the poll, Google Consumer Surveys infers a respondent's gender, age, and geographic location based on anonymous browsing history and other data. Blah, 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 blah. This covers the plus or minus. Now, Trump may have been in a less combative performance during the GOP debate Tuesday night, but he remained atop several unscientific online polls after the event. Trump took 38% of the vote in a Drudge Report poll as of 7 a.m. Wednesday morning, followed by Senators Cruz at 22%, Paul at 16%, and Rubio at 12%. Stark differences from the poll that Google conducted. Trump also led in a Time magazine poll, taking 43%, followed by Rand Paul at 19%, Rubio at 15%, Cruz at 7%, Kasich at 5%, Fiorina and Carson at 4%, and Jeb not even on the freaking poll. Meanwhile, another online poll from Fox News heading into the debate found 50% of respondents saying they thought Paul would win the fourth GOP debate. That's interesting, considering where he's polling nationwide. Followed by Trump at 23%, Cruz at 13%, Rubio at 6%, Carson at 4%. And again, these polls are all unscientific, but they can help gauge online enthusiasm with and engage among followers of particular candidates who are watching the debate. The Drudge poll drew nearly 200,000 votes, while the Time poll had nearly 20,000 respondents, and the Fox News poll 9,400. So definitely a much broader sampling on the Drudge poll. And folks, that's going to be about a wrap for tonight's program. We're getting close to the top of the hour. It's about time to bug out, pay the bills with the commercials, and make room for Jason DeWilkins. And according to me, folks, I hope you took the time to thank a veteran today. If you don't know a veteran, your time on this planet has been wasted so far. Get out and meet one, shake their hand, let them know you appreciate what they did for this country. As always, you can find me on Twitter at TCC_Grouchy, and we can chat about any topic you want to chat about, including Veterans Affairs. And as always, if you like the show, tell your friend. If your friends like the show, you probably need new friends. But you and they are welcome here every Wednesday night. And I will see you next week. Thank you, and God bless for being here.
We believe in the American way, and we built this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life. We never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the right.
You're listening to Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, compelling and entertaining talk.
Don't touch that dial.